Yeah, I mean, I'm disappointed and a little embarrassed at our performance today, and players have heard that already from me twice at halftime and now. But, you know, kudos to Maryland, obviously, for their performance, and I told the team that our biggest challenge is how relentless they are. It's obviously, you can look at the talent, you can look at the size and athleticism and see that we're overmatched, but I think that their competitiveness and their relentlessness is what, you know, separates them big time from where we are. And it was a good learning experience for some of our young players to understand the level that we need to raise our game. You know, but I think a little frustrating probably for Kelsey and May, who, you know, want to be able to progress a little bit faster in this early part of the season with so many different young guys out there. So, but you know, this is my philosophy every year, is to try and play the best, understand where the marker is, and then push my players to work hard to live up to that standard. And certainly Maryland's one of the best, and they showed it tonight. And you know, our hopefully our players will respond to the challenge going forward.
Questions for Kelsey?
Coach, so despite the results...
I'm not Kelsey.
Questions for Kelsey
so
first.
sorry.
Kelsey, Maryland can attack you so many ways, offensively and defensively. Is there one thing that makes it so difficult to play against them? Is their length, athleticism, or?
Definitely their athleticism. It's something that we don't see as frequently in the A10, and that just goes with how we need to compete back, like Coach was mentioning. Our experience plays into that, but it's just our drive to compete. And as much as this doesn't feel good right now, it just like last year, it's going to propel us to use this as an experience to use our competitive drive, gain this competitive drive to play against some A10 opponents that may not be athletic, but they might bring a harder competitive drive, similar to Maryland.
They held you guys without a score for 8 minutes in the first half, and then in the second half again. Were you feeling frustrated that nothing was going in? When's this going to end?
Yeah, I mean, it's always frustrating, especially when we're working to get the right shot, and when we can't do that, that's pretty frustrating. And when we were getting the right shots, we weren't knocking them down, and that is frustrating. But at the end of the day, it all starts on defense as well. We didn't have that drive to stop who we needed to stop. I think it all just goes back to the competitive drive that we need to bring forward, going forward as well.
Not exactly the result you wanted, but still against a good team. What kind of things, especially for the younger players, the freshmen, what kind of experiences can you take from this game, especially for them, even though it was a heavy loss?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still taking things from this loss as well. It's a great team, and it's really nice to play a team such as this so early in the season, where we can learn to match up against people that switch or more athletic or longer than us. It's just another experience to put in the bank for when we go forward with the A10s and eventually the A10 tournament. So everything is important at this day and age, and for myself as a senior or as a freshman coming in, or even our transfers are ones being heard. It's just the exposure is what we're really going for, and kudos to Coach Rosati for putting us in this position. Excuse me.
Any other questions for Kelsey?
Kelsey, you guys scored a lot of the three-pointers tonight, and even though they limited you in the paint, that was kind of your area of like the most offensive output you had in the game. Can you kind of talk about that and the importance of those threes in the game tonight?
You got to make shots. It was nice that we made a couple. I think we could have made a couple more on my end, or from others on the team as well. You know, when we have the talent and size that we do in the post, we still could have scored more in the post, and I think that was more of a key that we didn't focus on today. And going forward, that's something that we're going to be fixing. We're going to be working towards, is making sure we get our post the ball and they're comfortable in there, and we're making sure that we're getting the easier shot. Threes are easy for some and not so for others, but making sure we get the easy shot as a team.
All right, Kelsey, thank you. Questions for Coach?
Ken, you said in your opening that you felt that it was a learning experience. It was a learning experience for the guys.
Yeah.
I feel it was a learning experience for you too, even as long as you've been coaching.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's something to be learned from every game and from every coach that I compete against, and you know, I never want to stop, you know, I never want to think that I know enough. And most importantly, it's, you know, the constant challenge of motivation. Like, how do I get through to this team? You know, it took me a little while last year to figure that out with the group we had. And we did, and it felt really, really good. And I felt like it was one of my better coaching jobs in all of my years of coaching, because I figured that team out. And so here I am again, you know, I have to figure out this sophomore group out, driving me crazy. So I benched a bunch of them tonight because they played good against Princeton, and then they just think that that's enough, like every other practice, every other possession. And I don't have any seniors and juniors to, like, you know, other than May and Kelsey, to use as an example. So Anna gets to go in as our senior walk-on because she plays harder. And so there's that, you know, constant challenge for me to figure out what I'm gonna do. And it's a learning. I'll watch film and I'll learn, I'll have conversations. And it's hard to have freshmen out there, but to be able to play Maddie and Kayla that many minutes in a game against a top 10 opponent, hopefully shows them how much harder they need to be working every single day. And that this is it for the rest of their career. They're going to face Maryland. You know, we're going to play them every year. So at some point, you're going to have to figure it out. So, you know, for me, it's just that, like, what do we need to work on? Yeah, but we're not going to face that kind of competition going forward very often. So what can we do to get better from this? And then if we're put in that situation, because last year we won the A-10 and we played Ohio State. It was the same thing. We went out to Ohio State and we were outmatched, and they were bigger and longer and more athletic than us, and we weren't able to stay in the game. So, yeah, it's something that we'll have to figure out, and it may not be this year when I've got, you know, 10 freshmen and sophomores and a bunch of hurt guys that I was hoping to be able to play. It might be at the end of the year, it might be next year, but, you know, we're going to fight every day to keep getting better. And, you know, Maryland certainly put us in a position to open our eyes to how much further we have to get.
Jen, when the score's lopsided, what's kind of the message to your teammates to your team during
Yeah.
timeouts and stoppages and that?
It's competitiveness and it's execution on both ends. It's like, what's our goal now? Regardless of the score, what are we trying to accomplish? What does competitiveness look like for us? And some of that's intelligence. And, you know, we you know, had a certain press break, and then my sophomore point guard decides to, you know, deter from it, turns it over. And then my freshman point guard goes in, deters from it, turns it over. And then I ask them what they're doing, and they go back to my press break, and we don't turn it over. So then we get in the half court. So that's one challenge. Then we get in the half court, and they're switching everything, and we're trying to talk about easier opportunities for us to get shots. And you know, they go off the map a lot. So I think it's just that in-game ability to say to them, like, this is what we need to be doing, and this is how we have to get better. And then for some guys, it's leave them out there and let them keep failing and encourage them to try and figure it out. And for some guys, it was like, sit down, you're not going back in. And that's like my challenge, is to figure out what buttons to push for them and to get them to want to come back hungry on Friday for practice and hungry on Sunday when we play our next game.
Coach, despite the outcome, this was the least amount of points that Maryland has scored all season.
All right. Thank you for the silver lining.
What does that tell you about this team and their defense?
Yeah. Well, I don't think that our defense had a lot to do with that. I think we did slow the tempo down a little bit in the second half to try and limit possessions. And but we have actually been pretty good defensively. I will say, in our first two games, we gave up 50 and 49. So that has been something that I've challenged them with. It's like, hey, we're gonna look a mess on offense at times, especially against teams like this. But we can compete on defense. And I thought there were times where we made some good rotations and we got 4 people boxing out and they just jumped over us. And so those are things that we can look at and say, hey, in most games we're going to be able to secure that possession. We also had some goals in regards to offensive rebounds. I think they had 33 offensive rebounds in one game. We gave up 13. And second chance points. So we're not going to stop you from rebounding, but let's not give up the, like, offensive rebound layup one. So, you know, there are things that we were working on within the game that I thought we did okay. But I don't know that we had as much to do with it as them maybe missing some shots. But thank you for making me smile.
Against JMU, not the greatest defensive game,
Yeah.
and today as well. Against Princeton, a pretty nice offensive game. Are you worried at all that this might become a season-long kind of issue, that the offense is either inconsistent, or that maybe the 2 games which haven't performed as well might be kind of the norm going forward?
I don't think it'll be the norm. I think you're talking about JMU, who had their top 8 returning players back, and you're talking about Maryland, who's returning 4 starters. And then you were talking about Princeton, who had a bunch of freshmen and sophomores out there like we did. So I think sometimes it's going to be a product of who our competition is and what their strength is. And then it's going to be us progressing. So I remember scoring 2 points against Mercer in December last year in the first quarter, and thinking that we're never going to score a bucket. So we have some patience with the offense. I do think we're in a better place defensively than we were a year ago. I think we're in the same place on offense. Against good teams, we're going to struggle to score, and we're going to figure it out. And that's just kind of like who we're going to be right now. So that's why our defense has to be good. I think that I hope to progress a little faster, and some of that will be my challenge as a coach. We're a different team than we were a year ago, so I have to figure out how to utilize them better in my system. But we're already making some changes that I think will help us going forward. So I don't think it's going to be the norm, but I think against teams that have a lot of experience, where coaches can say, hey, we're going to guard this way, and then we're going to guard this that way, which is what I was able to do, in some of the years of my career. It's going to be hard for us to make our own adjustments. And so right now it's just a lot of me having to help them. And so I need to help them more, but they also need to, figure out how to help themselves as we go forward.
Coach, what's it like going against Brenda Fries, since she's such a great coach? Does that add any motivation for you and your staff?
Only out of respect, not, I think that, we've certainly.
Focusing on?
We talked a little bit about like what our program goal is. We don't have a lot of specific team goals for this year yet, as far as we want. I think any team that's won a championship, your goal is always to win a championship. That you don't ever have to say that you want to win an A-10 championship. It's just implied. But I took this job to help GW become a national contender, to be back into the spot where they're in the top 25 on a consistent basis. So, yeah, like this is the kind of game that like gives our team an idea of how far off we are. And I don't know that we're 60 points off. I think we're like a junior or an injury away from being a little bit better than we are. But I think that for me and for some of these young guys to say, hey, we might not be there tonight, but this is what you came here, and this is what we talked about you doing when you got here, was to be able to play this kind of a team and this kind of a schedule and make some noise. And so I wasn't thinking this would be the night that we did it, but I want them to understand that this is what the future is supposed to be about, is to be able to have these kind of teams come into our building and be able to beat them. And so however long we are away from that, I don't know, but certainly I talk to them about that because I want them to understand that that's how competitive I am, and they need to get a lot better for us to get there.